Hey y'all, what's up? It's your girl Sunray coming at you guys with a prophetic word. I was originally coming out here to record a Sunray Speaks, but instantly as I went in, God had to remind me about the scripture, Romans 8:28, where it states that all things will work together for the good of those who love Him and who are called according to His purpose. If I remember correctly, I believe that's the scripture. So I don't believe it's ironic that God has me talking about that as opposed to talking about keeping the faith and everything else, because literally on this day last year, God made all things work together for me to be able to move to Houston. Now, if you guys are interested in learning more about that journey, I have it all recorded. There's a God Told Me to Move playlist. That will be very helpful for you. Like, even right now, y'all, I got like a slight headache, but we're going to push through this. So last year on this date, it was the December 31st, 2020. And God had instructed me a few days prior to just leave, to pack up my things and go. Now, I had my things packed up for months because I was staying with a friend at the time. I was sleeping on her couch for about exactly like 5 months, actually. Like maybe 2 days shy of 5 months, but literally 5 months. And it was where God told me before I moved there, God was like, I am going to move you to Houston before the year is over. And I didn't understand because I'm like, well, God, I don't have any money. I'm looking at apartments in Houston, but I'm like, God, I really can't afford any of this stuff. And this is one thing that was so important in my journey, is that, one, I had to trust God the entire time, no matter what. I had to have that faith. I could not move ahead of God. And we're going to talk about that right now. I had a friend that had his own business, and he was able to like fake check stubs and all this other stuff. Other people told me I could do the same thing too. They're like, hey, I got this cousin that can give you a fake check stub, that can do all of this stuff. But when you do those things, what you're doing is you're moving ahead of God. And that was something that I knew in my heart. I'm like, yes, I could do those things, but those are scheming. That's lying. You know what I'm saying? Why do I have to scheme and lie to receive what God will freely give me? If God can freely give me salvation, He can freely give me this gift. All good and perfect things perfect gifts come from our Father. So why do I have to do those things? So I knew that if I were to do those things, let's say I did get those fake check stubs, I would have been out of alignment with God's will. Yeah, He might have still taken care of me, but how was I going to pay my rent? How was I going to do this, that, and the third, you know? Even now with the apartment God blessed me in, I had to go through a process. I stayed in Airbnbs for 4 months. And then from Airbnbs, I always say 3 months, but it was really 4 months because it was from January to the beginning of April. But I stayed in, 3 months. So anywho, I stayed in Airbnbs for 3 months, right? And then from there, I had went into a sublease. And this is all after I told God years ago, after having a roommate in college, I'm like, God, I will never live with somebody else. I even said that. And I had to be on my friend's couch for 5 months, living in Airbnbs with strangers for 3 months straight, okay? And then from there, staying in the sublease from April all the way up to December with someone, constantly sharing space, constantly doing this, all things that I said I did not want to do. But the thing is the Bible tells us that we have to be transformed by the renewing of our minds, right? Which means that God has to renew our minds. He has to renew our thoughts. He has to renew our actions so that they are kingdom oriented, so that they are kingdom purpose, right? And the reason why I'm making this video, All Things Work Together, is because had I not did all those little steps, had I not been obedient, had I been complaining during those things, I would have been just like the first generation of Israelites in the wilderness. The ones that Moses had to keep from going into the promised land because they were too fearful, or they had all of these complaints about what was going on in the journey, whatnot. I get a lot of people that email me, and I'm never insensitive because I completely understand what it's like to be in a place where you're like, well, God, where's this? Well, where's this? Where's that? But I try and stress so much to people that to go to God and say, like, I should have this because of this, that is to have a heart of pride, right? Because the thing is that we have to wait on God. God's timing is the perfect timing. Like when I say put that in your head and drill it in, anytime I will find myself being like, dang God, I feel like I should be here. But I'm like, you know what, God? You have a better plan for me. I would humble myself. Why would I humble myself? Because if you don't humble yourself, God will humble you. Okay? And it says that God elevates those who are humble in heart. All right? And so it was so important for me to just understand, like, okay, God, although the situation is super uncomfortable, although I don't have any money, although I don't have this, but God, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust that what your plan is going to be greater than what I have for myself. That what it is you want me to do is going to be greater than what it is that I'm planning on doing for my life. And so following those little steps, no matter how uncomfortable they made me feel, no matter what it was, no matter what I looked like, recording videos, talking about, oh, I'm getting a brand new car, and I'm just like, God, am I really going to be getting a brand new car? Like, what's going on? And then having to trust, like, you know what, God, I'm going to trust you, do all of these things, and then to be rewarded for my obedience, but to see how all things work together, all things, even the things that were set out to destroy me, like people talking on my name, people talking about God, because I talk about God so much, like all of these things. And it's just really helped me put it into perspective that, wow, God, like, I'm grateful for you, because God, had it not been for you, I would not have been able to, like, had it not been for him renewing my mind, I would not have been able to understand what I was going through from a spiritual perspective. And that was the reason why I stayed in the wilderness so long for so many years before, was because I kept looking at things in the physical. And it was like, once I just transitioned and said, God, I'm just going to live my life in faith. I'm having faith over fear. You guys, there's a video from like over 6 months ago that I posted, faith over fear. I'm just going to decide to do what you tell me to do. I'm just going to follow, no matter if it doesn't make sense. Once I fully did that, and it wasn't like one day I was like, okay, God, I have faith, and the next day I didn't know. I pushed past it, and I have faith every single day. I said, this is my new mindset. Because in order to renew your mind, God doesn't just come in and while you're asleep give you like a whole new mind. It's a process. It's something that you have to put work into. When God says that he will bless you by the work of your hands, like, you have to be doing something. You can't just expect God to just change your mind. You have to change something as well. You know what I'm saying? It's a dual process. It's a relationship, okay? Just like with any relationship, you don't expect your partner to just change. You have to help them. You know, things like that. Ooh, that was speaking to me. But anywho, yeah, and so it was like, once I made like that conscious effort to do, that is when I really started to see the hand of God move. And I think I do a really good job of explaining it thoroughly through my emails so people can understand what I'm saying. But I did want to record a video just saying like how even the bad things, it all works together for your good. So yeah, I pray that this prophetic word blesses your spirit as much as it's blessed me throughout my journey, seeing this scripture and how much it's just helped me has been very transformative to my life. So I love you guys, and I'll talk to you later.